What's up, everybody? Welcome to Eminence TV Live, our weekly rundown of tournament cEDH and what's going on in the cEDH community. I'm Scoots, and as always, I am joined by Ashani, the Jamaican dude from Playing with Power. I am obligated to say that part. We'd like to thank our sponsors and our chat admins, Moxfield and the Epic Storm, without whom this would not be so amazing. If you're enjoying Eminence content and would like to see more, please consider subscribing here on Twitch. If you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to one channel a month for free, and we'd love if you'd consider using that on us. We're also on Patreon at patreon.com/EminenceMTG. Your pledge there goes to improve the programs of Eminence cEDH University, as well as coverage for events, among many other things. We'd be so grateful for your support there. Important announcements. Let's get down to it. Silicon Dynasty is in San Jose, January 13th through the 15th. Of note, tickets are more than halfway sold out, so urgently go get your tickets so you can participate in this groundbreaking West Coast Eminence event. And prize support for Silicon Dynasty is at 4K right now, so it's very good. We have Punt City 2, March 24th through the 26th in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, featuring myself and Ashani on the casting duties. Looking forward to seeing everybody back in the Philadelphia area, going out for maybe some dumplings this time, and having a good hang, as well as some amazing cEDH action. July 28th through the 30th in Atlanta, Georgia, we have the Cookout, which is another one that Ashani and I will be at. It's going to be a Rama Slamma Windmill Jamma, whatever that means. Undertaker is going to throw mankind through Hell in a Cell. It's going to be great. And then Windmill Slam, September 23rd to the 25th, back in San Jose, California for our second event out on the West Coast. And as always, you should stay tuned to the Eminence Twitter account, Eminence MTG, for more updates on upcoming Eminence events and the continuation of the Eminence circuit. Importantly, hello everybody. The Cookout should have been in Syracuse. I agree. MTG, the Epic Storm. I keep pushing for Syracuse. One day we'll get it. Command Tower is live for shops and TOs globally used. That's right. Memberships go from $5 and up a month. Shop partnerships are live. Shop partners sponsor a player or players in main Eminence events. The player wins a feeder tournament at this shop and then has their entry to the tournament provided by the shop. It is a very cool program. We have already had several qualifier events run. We had one at I believe the Command Tower. We had Rip and Ship Gaming in Deer Park, New York, just held one this past weekend. It's a very exciting time. We reserve these tickets for shop partners, a certain amount of tickets for shop partners, in an effort to bridge the gap between large-scale event systems like Eminence and LGS level scenes. So those are the announcements. And again, I cannot stress enough, Silicon Dynasty is coming. It is a month away. Tickets are halfway or more sold out. So if you'd like to attend, please, with a sense of urgency, go get a ticket. The chat says T-Pain is an Eminence. Sean is looking very cozy today and has that buy you a drink stank going right now. As always, it's time to go to our content from the competitive EDH subreddit. That's right. We go and we look at a few posts from the competitive EDH subreddit to get the gauge on the community. And we go now to my favorite topic in the entire world, Kingmaking. What not to do. And it's a new video from Eisenherz, talking about after what happened apparently at Tier 1 Con, and there was a cEDH tournament in Portugal that had what Eisenherz feels are king-making issues, and they go on to talk a little bit about that. And there's some good discussion in the comments about optimal play, casting your spells, what king-making is and isn't, and yeah, it's a good video. It's a good chat in the comments. Let me ask you, Ashani, my esteemed co-host. For Kingmaking, I have just one question, and then we're gonna move on. For Kingmaking, is it player dependent for you? Like, if you have a friend, say a friend named Scott, who has a game-winning spell on the stack, and the person after him will win the game if you interact with your friend named Scott. Are you interacting?
Well, I don't know if I'm the correct person to ask about that because we all know my stance on play your spells.
I will die with
Um,
this interaction in hand,
I will
Ashani.
die with
Yeah.
this. Yeah, that's kind of my take. If I'm playing to win the game and I feel like my chances of winning this game is 5%, um, it's still low. So I'm just not going to interact. But I've been learning though. I've been learning to play to that very low percentage, and I've been casting my spells. So first, I would try to make a deal, and then I see what happens. But for you, Scott, I definitely caught the spell.
That's what I figured. That's what I figured. Okay.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I know where I stand in the Ashani rules. So, the next thing we have is play to win versus the Epic Storm. Oh my goodness.
But
Thrasios,
hold
Bruce,
on.
Winota, Rograk Silas, and Rograk Silas, cEDH gameplay. Why, we have a sponsor named the Epic Storm, and Play to Win was joined by Bryant and Alex of the Epic Storm. And I'm sure that the games were
I
very,
did take a
very
sneak
good.
peek of that game, and everyone should go watch that game, especially, especially if you enjoy seeing wrong side underperform. Absolute banger.
Woof.
Um, but we did not ask our guest about the Kingmaking, Scott. How do you feel about Kingmaking in competitive gameplay, Farcon?
I don't know. I've never really been in the situation myself. I think that if you decompose the situation to like perfect information, I think I'm in the Ashani camp. I'm gonna die with my spells in my hand rather than counter a win attempt if I know the next player also has a win attempt.
See, this is
I'm
why I
just
Absolutely.
didn't
gonna hope
ask. I just knew. I could tell. I got the
I'm
read.
gonna I'm gonna hope someone else has something or like they fuck up their combo line or something, and I'm gonna try to protect my own spells.
Right?
Either
I
that
mean,
or I'm just gonna counter the first one attempt because that's what you're supposed to do, right?
is that what we're supposed to do? Counter the first win attempt? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. MTG the Epic Storm. Can we raise the guest audio? I've done it. Let me know how it sounds. Also, can we ban all TNT fans in chat? Unfortunately, I can't ban myself, and so that would
That would be a negative.
that'd not be good. Uh, let's see. The last one that we have, episode 22 of the Sad Nose podcast. Who's ever heard of that? It's hosted by Eminence caster, Poppyphobia Adam, big fan of Adam, and thusly the Sad Nose podcast. And they had Bosch and Roll, the Oak Oktoberfest 2022 champion, in this episode. That's right, Brian Koval talks about his obsession with EDH and his transition from 60 card Magic into cEDH. Hey, that sounds very familiar. I think it's very good. And you should go listen and find it on all your podcatchers. Let's see. How does Forcon feel about Karn the Great Piece of Trash? Forcon, how do you feel about Karn the Great Creator?
Karn, the great creator. I mean, he's cool. He's pretty good in Rog Tavesh.
Please don't encourage Rog Tavesh. Please don't encourage
Definitely,
the playing of that deck. Oh my gosh.
I don't know. If anything, I feel like null rod effects are underplayed right now. But
Let's
this might be a hot
go.
take.
That's not even a hot take. That's a correct take. Good job, sir. Um, Absolutely stunning pick. Card the Great Creator, good card. Wrong to Fresh, upcoming tier 1 deck.
Goated.
Keep
Goated deck.
keep a lookout. It's coming up in the ranks.
Yeah, when it wins a game, I'll start paying attention to it.
Oh, okay.
I've seen it win a game before.
Well,
No,
you can't prove it.
no, we cannot. I agree.
All
I
right.
totally agree.
So
Has it
we
won a game
have
by killing the table? Maybe not, but
no.
definitely won a game by concession.
Listen, conceded is if my table concede out of misery, I'll take my dubs. Because that's a dub.
Ashani,
If
what
you do
happened to
know.
the halcyon days of concession is not a win con? Back in the day when Timmy Armageddoned us in casual games, and you would say, "No, I'm sitting here. I'm waiting. You better kill me."
Scott, that's an incorrect attitude to have. You should just concede. I was wrong in those days,
Okay.
I was
All right.
wrong.
Okay. All right. Well,
Oh my
everybody,
god, bro.
to put aside attrition as a win con, which it isn't, we have a wonderful guest today. Goes by 4Con, was a finalist in the Mox Masters December event, playing, I think, the worst deck in cEDH, confirmed, yeah?
Definitely. Never won a tournament. Bad deck.
Yeah. So 4Con, if people have been living under a rock for a little while, please tell them who you are, where they can find you on the internet, and maybe give us the rest of your tournament accolades. I'm sure they're very deep.
Yeah. Literally never played a Magic tournament before like 6 months ago.
Hmm.
I have never played if like probably a year and a half ago, I'd never played Magic period at all. Um so
Hmm.
not a very deep list of accolades. This is actually only my third tournament ever.
Nice.
But if you want to find me, I am only on Discord. So yeah.
Excellent. Here's a
I'm
real
not about
question. Is
Twitter
your
life.
name an elaborate These Nuts joke?
No,
Okay.
it
All
is
right.
not.
Okay.
It is very immature, but I made it when I was a kid and I'm sticking to it.
Excellent. Poppyphobia in the chat says, I thought you were playing Opus Thief. Fun. So, you spoke a little bit about being a fairly recent Magic player and a fairly new tournament player. What drew you to cEDH of all things?
Um my friends like were like, "Hey, let's play Magic." And I was like, "Oh, I heard of this game. I heard it's cool, right?" So I played like casual EDH with them and like my friend would bring out fucking Dragon and just shit on me. And I
Yeah.
was like, "Dude, I'm not enjoying myself, but I'm getting like Tiamat resolving on turn 5 every game, and I'm just getting crumped by by Tiamat."
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, enough. Let's look on like Boxfield and see what the most viewed deck is. And I found Corvold, and I like I like semi net decked Corvold, and like started bringing it to like us playing Commander. And like I was really bad at it, but it was like, oh hey, this like Underworld Breach. This card's pretty cool. Um,
As it
and
turns
like
out.
I started really liking it, and enjoying it, and like around the time when I like started getting good enough to like not really be able to play that deck against my friends anymore, I was like, hey, let's start watching some content, and I like started watching like podcasts, and eventually I just like started playing. So
Nice.
yeah,
Excellent. So, did you start playing Magic with EDH then, or?
yeah, EDH is the only format I've ever played.
Excellent. Z Rob in the chat says, "What's up, 4Con? Great game in Mox Masters. Love to see the sportsmanship in the chat." Uh,
Thanks, C-Rob.
Mox Masters was particularly good to watch. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy the dynamic of Drake and Cal and Ashani when he gets a chance to say things. I liked that too. Um, but will you tell us a little bit about your progression through cEDH decks? You played some Corvald, you played some Tim Necrom. Was there anything in between?
Yeah, so after I like picked up, I was like, oh, Corvold. Then I like went to Kark. I think Kark was like the next deck I picked up. I say picked up. I like barely understood how to play the deck. Like I was like, all right, I'm just gonna try to get Kark and Sakashiva, like cast Jesk as well. Like we'll see what
Mm-hmm.
happens after
Yeah,
that.
I mean that works out
Um,
a lot of the time.
but yeah, I'll try to learn Kark because there's like a lot of good content for Kark out there, and like the Discord is pretty cool. So picked up Kark, and then when I started getting really serious, which is probably like June of this year, I was like actually playing a lot. I was like, I'm gonna play Rogsai, because Rogsai seemed like a deck that not a lot of people were playing at the time. Um, but I think like comedian MTG like plugged it on his stream, and I was like, hey, Adnos, I want to cast Adnos,
I know it's
really
good.
fast.
Yeah.
um, so I also the other reason I picked up Rogsai is because it's completely brain dead and it's like just about resolving the spell as fast as possible. So
Oh
I figured it would be really easy for me to figure out as a complete noob. And I have now since learned to appreciate that Rogsai actually has a pretty high skill ceiling, but um it was also like very digestible as a player to pick up. So that was a fun deck. And then after Rogsai, I like when I started to actually improve at the game, I was kind of tired of just like jamming a Naz and getting counterspelled and crying.
no. Hmm.
Um, so then I was like, hey, let's play the next best thing. And that was Blue Farm. And I've been playing Blue Farm ever since.
There's something to be said for just like playing the best cards, right? Like, I mean, a lot of people take pride in navigating like a worse card pool, playing like Selesnya or Orzhov or something. But when you have Orzhov plus blue and red, like that's pretty good. There's something to be said for it. Um, so
Were you not playing that Forever Partners or no?
Which ones?
No,
Oh no. I never
no.
played like Stranger Things Partners.
hmm,
Okay,
I know Pip played Stranger Things for a while.
yeah, Pip. Okay.
Pip. Um, so you decided to bring Tim Necrom to this event. Uh was there a meta consideration for bringing Tim Necrom? Did you bring it because it's just the deck you're very good at? Did you bring it because you thought it would be good in that meta? And then can you walk us through a little bit of your personal alterations to the stock blue farm list?
Why did I take Blue Farm? I took Blue Farm because I'd been practicing with it first and foremost. So I was confident with the deck. Honestly, I didn't think about the meta barely at all. I was just like, I know this deck is good until basically anything I can run into except for Winota. So I was like, fuck it. Um, and I mean that's a big reason why I chose like Blue Farm in general was because I wanted to have a versatile like game plan that wasn't just gonna like fall over because there was like, oh, there's a Thorn of Amethyst. Oh, there's a Collector. Oh, there's a Rule of Law. Like Rogstai like completely dies if like a stacks piece hits, but I like didn't want that anymore. So um that was why I brought the deck. Um Personal alterations, I have basically teched it completely towards mid range. Um Both because of Tremnek, who won
Mm-hmm.
both of the most recent chaos tournaments actually.
With the
Um
Teferi master or the Teferi whatever the
yeah,
three
dude.
fairy, yeah.
Teferi Teferi is gas. Um I don't actually know how good Teferi is, but um
Are you on the displacer kitten?
no, fuck
There were
no. I
some
think
people
Kitten.
running that.
No way.
So when you say
I don't
you've
think
when you say you've made mid range considerations, what are we talking about?
um I cut a lot of like kind of the Rogsai cards like Infernal Plunge. What are the other Rogsai cards? Like the interaction is teched a lot more mid range. So there's like we don't play Days. I don't play like Man, I almost want to just like pull up a comparison. I don't play City of Traders. I don't play any of the talismans because I think I play one. Because I think they suck as cards. Um, but like I don't know, they're good, but I don't want to draw them. um,
Yeah.
I don't play. I play a lot more creatures than rocks. I play as like um, I was on Ledger Shredder at one point. I think I was on Ledger Shredder during the tournament. Um, I play Mindbreak Trap. A lot of rugs, a lot of decks, a lot of blue farm players don't play Mindbreak Trap.
Yeah, the 4 mana hit off of Ad Naus is
Yeah,
a
I don't
thing
really
people
care. Like,
consider.
I don't know. That's a whole debate, but I think that like you basically shouldn't care about ad nauseam CMC
Let me
unless
ask you a
it's like
question.
7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. Are you deny the power of talismans? The chat is a little grumpy about that. I gotta be honest.
Oh, are they? Are they
Uh,
calling me an idiot?
no, just saying talismans good, and uh, that you're firing off some hot takes. But like chat says, you can just point to the scoreboard, and you finaled
No,
a
that's
major
not true at
event. So
all. I honestly am completely not confident at all in that take. My only like way to back it up is by saying that I've had bad experiences playing the talismans, but I also know people who've had great experiences playing them. And I've like tried a lot to come up with a way to like get a more robust data driven like idea of whether or not
mhm.
the talismans are good. But like in spite of the fact that I'm literally a software engineer, I can't come up with like any like statistical methods for like showing that. So I'm like fucking stuck.
Yeah,
So
I
it's just
mean,
like
I think it's difficult to determine what even the criteria should be for whether they're quote unquote good or not. But
yeah, it's hard, right? I don't know.
I think maybe you could probably figure out the probability of being able to cast one on turn one, which is I think the big reason behind City of Traders, Ancient Tomb, and all the talismans is to have colored mana online pretty early. I know that's why I play them, and from a purely anecdotal standpoint, I have enjoyed the consistency of mana production from talismans, but I can totally get people who don't want to play them for whatever reason. I think it's also like a perfectly valid take. But here's the hot issue I have for you.
Okay.
How do you feel about the red turn spells
Oh,
in
okay.
fast lists?
I don't really see Blue Farm as a fast list, honestly. Um, I think Blue Farm is, or at least the way I have it built, is closer to a mid-range list. Um, I think Final Fortune is really, really good because of the instant speed. The other ones I'm more iffy on. I know some people are playing the red and white one, Chance for Glory,
Chance for Glory, yeah.
um, all because it's also instant speed and the casting cost is less awkward. Because like red, it's like really obnoxious to make. Because a lot of the time you just want to fetch like one red pip.
Hmm.
Um, I think that maybe there's like some crackhead like build that wants to play Necropotence. And if you were playing Necropotence, I think that extra turn spells are like crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
they're really good if you can sculpt and then fire it off.
or just like main phase it and then like Necro for 20 and like fuck it. Um, like yeah, I'm gonna draw 20 cards. What are you gonna do about it? Um,
On
I
20 cards.
but I think that like layering Necro is kind of tricky in Blue
Mhm.
Farm because your primary game plan is Breach. And like Necro makes breach lines really tricky and like you could shoot yourself in the foot really easily. I'm certainly not good enough to play Necropotence in Blue Farm. So that's why I've tried to stay away from some of that tech. Um,
I when I used to play the Get Rog monster, that list was always on Necropotence, and I, for the same reason, didn't play Necropotence. I was just not a good enough player to handle the loop with my cards being exiled, so I just didn't do it. And
yeah,
I
that's
think
how I feel about it.
Oh, I think there's like a significant a significant kind of skill aspect there in determining what you can and cannot do. I think like that's pretty important. If you don't feel confident in a card, it's probably better to cut it even if it's traditionally very powerful. I mean, there's something to be said
Yeah.
for getting more reps on it, but there's also something to be said for the comfort of a deck that you're playing. And is Blue Farm that comfort deck for you? Is that the deck that you can bust out at any point and always play comfortably on it, or
Um, I'm really I mean, I've basically been exclusively playing it for, like, 4 months now, so I'm pretty
Mhm.
comfortable with it. Um, although I do like, part of me wonders, would I be a stronger player if I, like, split up my expertise and, like, went into like, picked up a different deck and tried to learn
Yeah.
it, just to, like, broaden my horizons.
But Shawnee, you have a lot of experience playing through different decks to kind of try and get a pulse on things. How do you feel about that idea? Does it make you a better player?
I think it gives you a more rounded understanding of what is happening in the meta, but it does come to bite you like when you want a go-to tournament deck because you feel like you're capable to play anything.
Hmm.
So you just want to play whatever your heart desire when it goes to a tournament versus like getting a deck locked in and just getting reps on it. And that's
Right.
kind of a big yeah, and that was kind of a big discussion I think me and Big Richie had
Hmm.
where he believed where because of the like not like for starting off like not knocking proxies, but his thing was because people can make a builder box with proxies, you don't get to invest all your time in one deck because that's what you bought. You bought into one deck, so you don't get to spend like 2 years playing the same deck, right? You
Hmm.
can buy multiple decks, so you get to play other decks. So you don't kind of learn the meta that you're playing. So I don't know. I don't know which one is correct, but I think you should definitely master one deck and be proficient in others.
Yeah, my strategy has been, like, I've only been playing this shit for, like, 6 months, so I'm gonna probably just pick one thing and, like, try to be really good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that works. I
It-
mean, there's people who make long careers out of that. Death and taxes and guys like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Curious, what do you think about the extra turn spells, Ashani? You think they should be more? Do you think they're underplayed, overplayed?
I am hooked on the extra turn spells. Because you get to, if you're the sandbagging type, you get to steal people's turn after they remove a problematic piece on the board. Or after a big counter fight, you get to like sneak in a final fortune before the person with unlimited resources on top.
Mhm.
So on that aspect, I do enjoy the card. Um, Between the ability of Necro and the extra turn spells, I have not mastered that art yet.
Yeah.
There's so many moving pieces with Necro and Final Fortune that it has never worked in my favor. I tried it in Blue Farm. I think it worked, but like trying to figure out, oh, let's go 35 deep to try to find
Mhm.
a Symbian Spirit Guide and a Final Fortune to try to
Yeah.
get there. Never works out for me. I don't know why, but yeah.
This kind of goes
Main
back to
phase
the
and
idea
admin.
that it's really hard to test individual cards
Yes.
in
Mhm.
cEDH lists because you don't see them that often. But whereas in like a 60 card format, something's a 4 of in your deck, so you immediately see its impact on your deck construction. But it takes like I think it takes between 25 and 30 games to like fully establish the objective value of a card in your cEDH list.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why, testing groups are fine if you're testing the same deck. Um, if everyone is kind of playing the same list, everyone has a different data, they see the card at a different time. So you can like get the data from everyone and then figure out if a card is good or bad. But yeah, that's what I have to
Right.
say. Wait, how you feel about that, Scott? Are you a big Final Fortune guy or no?
I am a big fan of the red turn spells right now. I'm on Final Fortune and Warrior's Oath in my personal list. Of Malcolm
Which is
Vile
that?
Smasher.
Okay.
What? What's
Malcolm
up?
Vile.
Yeah,
Is
Malcolm
that like
Vile Smasher. That's my
Turbo?
deck.
Malcolm Vile Turbo?
Kind of. I mean, it's a very good Adnos deck that has a one card like Clint Horn Buccaneer combo that basically reads uncounterable in the meta that I happen to play in because no one holds up like Force of Will. Today I actually saw a delay in a game today which could have countered Clint Horn Buccaneer, but yeah. I'm a big fan of getting the extra turn, and I find that if I need mana, because it's a deck that wins in the combat step, sometimes you make the mana, and then you need to go to the next turn.
Yeah.
So there is that. But yeah, I like the red turn spells. I'm a big fan. I also like the talismans and the City of Traders. I've kind of drank that particular Kool-Aid. Um, but that's just I think a lot of it comes down to personal preference because like I said that the impact of such things is hard to have any kind of like empirical data for. So,
Yeah, and it's almost like a philosophy. Like if you like the early turn philosophy where it's like the most impactful turns are the early turns, obviously. So like there's some people who would say like any deck construction element that gives you an edge in those early turns potentially is like gas, and you should think about it seriously.
yeah.
I don't
Uh
know.
yeah. I mean it's a lot to consider. And that was a really good discussion. I really enjoyed that. Um I wanted to break away from the more worldly topics and kind of talk about your Mox Masters tournament experience. If you're okay with that.
Mhm. No, I'm not okay with it.
All right.
But go ahead.
We'll get right to the soup question. No. So Mox Masters, it had a pretty big competition field. What were your rounds of Swiss like?
Uh, Let me pull up my notes.
Ooh,
Um,
wow, notes.
yeah, I took notes on the Swiss, which was interesting. Um, Although I did like forget some shit, obviously.
Yep.
How do I go to my fucking? God damn it! 1 second.
Oh, Epic
All
Storm
right.
is saying Z-Rob, while he's looking for his notes, Z-Rob crushed with wrong side. And listen, I agree. But at the same time, Mitch 03 and drop in those recent Mox Masters.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know. What are we
Ashani,
saying? What are we saying?
Ashani skill issue though.
Skill issue? Okay, not
Yeah,
deck
yeah,
issue. Skill
yeah.
issue?
Skill
Okay, my
issue.
fault. My
Yeah.
fault. Pilot and
Um.
skill issue.
All right. I got the notes. Swiss.
Excellent.
I think my biggest takeaway from Swiss is that oftentimes I ended up being the table police. In spite of the fact that I was like, people say Blue Farm is a turbo deck, which is like, I don't understand where that comes from, other than like that's what the deck historically was, because uh, like it, I don't from where I am like playing the deck. Um, it's like not. It's just mid range. It's just like a true mid range deck. So my games of Swiss were all about trying to live until I could resolve a Ranger Captain or a Grand Abolisher, and then win with Underworld Breach.
Yeah.
Like that was literally my entire plan. I was like, I'm just gonna like in almost all of these pods. There was one exception, but like almost all of these pods, I was like, I'm either gonna look for like Ristic Study or like free interaction early, one of those things, and stick those early, and then I'm gonna draw one of these like bullshit instant win cards and win.
Yeah.
Um, like, and like I think literally 3 of my games I won because I was able to resolve like a Ranger Captain or an
Hmm.
Abolisher or like a Teferi or like one of those cards. That's one of the big reasons I play Teferi, even though people are like low on the card. I
3
don't
mana
know. In my
silence.
games, like having that like permanent
Yeah.
like you can't cast spells effect is like the best card, like some of the best cards in the deck.
Yeah.
So upping that density has been good for me.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if it's like it's hard for me to say whether or not like T3 Fairy is like the gas or whatever, but
Hmm.
it seems good. Um,
Chat is agreeing with you. Silence effect's pretty good. Teferi might be slept on. It's just pip intensive, but so is Lavinia, and that card has proven itself time and time again. So it's
Lavinia,
Poppyphobia.
man,
Uh,
Lavinia,
I don't
Lavinia,
so
think
interesting.
Lavinia has proven itself. I think Lavinia has just came on the circuit and people don't know why it's good. They're seeing it a winning deck and they're just, oh, it won a tournament, so let me play it. I'm not sold.
I am
mm,
personally off Lavinia.
yeah,
Um, because I don't want to turn off my opponent's free interaction. um,
feel the
but
same.
I
Uh,
don't know. I'm testing it. I want to test it, but I don't know. I go back and forth on that one.
so
Other than
there's
that,
this
I mean,
there's this kind of philosophical shift I think I've seen like between some blue farm players, and then there's like I hesitate to use this copyrighted deck name, but freeze thief. There is like the freeze thief mentality, which is resolve a silence effect and win with brain freeze and underworld breach. Like, uh, I think that there is a philosophical divide between the two schools of blue farm, and I'm not sure that there's that much of a card divide, but I think that there is a I think that there is a kind of a school two schools of thought, and it seems like you subscribe to the play the best mid range strategy that you can and the best colors that you can type of thought school. Is that accurate?
yeah, I just want to respond to what FTG Epic Storm said in chat really quick.
Sure.
If you don't want to turn off opponent's interaction, how do you justify Teferi? People are playing Lavinia in the deck like it's a bear where they want to stick it like turn 1 or turn 2. Or at least that's from when I watched Boschenroll's video about why he was playing Lavinia. He was talking about playing it like a bear. Um, and I'm very uncomfortable with playing it like a bear because I never want to put one of these like I see it similarly to like degrid pass where it's like something you like asking to auto lose. Um, I don't know. I see it as risky, needlessly risky versus a card like Teferi, which completely stops all interaction on your turn. Um, and yeah, I don't know. Sorry, my computer like I try to tip it to me
Don't
really quick,
don't,
but
don't worry. We're trying to argue with. It's a good discussion. Um, I don't know
Yeah.
how I feel about it,
I
but
mean, yeah, let's
I'm
touch
definitely
on it a little.
sure. It's a good discussion. I think Lavinia as a bear is the only reason I would play it because it's good in the early turn. It buys you time. It gets you to progress your board state. My issue with it is in the later game. It's just like saying some cards like when people used to play Serious Ascendant. It felt good in turns 1 to 2, but it felt terrible when you joined in the late games when your life is not above 30.
Yeah.
So it has that feel about it. Um, with it, I wouldn't look at it as a defense grid, and I think if you're playing Lavinia as a defense grid, sure, you can play it as another grand abolisher effect. So it depends on what role you want it to fit, right?
Yeah, it's
That's
not
the
as good of a defense grade as like Teferi, which is like ultimately why I think I play Teferi over it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess the only reason you play Teferi over it is because Teferi also have a clause on it as a bounce spell too, so it has multiple
Uh-huh.
utility. So I guess that's why you would play Teferi. But I haven't played either. Have you tried either, Scott?
I don't play white anymore. So,
Oh,
um like, yeah, I haven't played anything that wasn't Grixis, that isn't Grixis, for like a while now. Grixis or Izet. So,
that's
uh
fair. That's fair.
I liked Lavinia in Razakats exactly. I enjoyed it, and then I cut it because I lost games because of it. Uh but I think as a in Razakats, that like in a deck with Razakats that has the potential to protect a win turn, but it also can just be a tutor. Like when Razaketh hits the field, if you need it gone or whatever. So, um, I think if you are careful with it, which I was unwilling to be, but I think if you're careful with it, it's a very good it's a very good pseudo silence that does force people to play fair Magic and
Yeah,
does lock out a fair number of like early turn ramp opportunities or early turn wins. Like it locks out uh Oracle wins on turn before turn 2, right? So it locks
I
out
mean, yeah.
Underworld Breach. It locks out it's a very good lock piece if you're playing it into the right table and you're reading correctly. The chat is saying the question is why not just play defense grid? And I think a lot of
Well, you can
this
play both. You
I
can
think a
play
lot of
all of
this
the
harkens
above.
back to the differentiation between the lists running City of Traders, Ancient Tomb, and Talismans, and a lot of colorless mana sources, versus the lists that aren't. Right. I think Defense Grid is exceptional in lists that regularly have 2 colorless mana to deal with things
Yeah,
in the earlier turns.
exactly.
Yeah, but
Uh-huh. And like if I was playing City of Traders and like the talismans, I'd almost certainly cut Teferi for D grade. Um, but because
yeah.
I'm like on the color pit mana base,
Mhm.
I'm playing Teferi.
Yeah, I think it's just again, I think it's just a difference in schools of thought and ways to play the game, and I think those are healthy and good, in fact, to have those differences. So yeah, it just kind of it. I guess the answer is it just kind of depends.
No,
My
in
goodness.
Magic, it's like the most straightforward and easy to understand game ever.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I've never had to make a hard decision playing a game of Magic in my life, right? So just play
Yeah,
Naws and win game, right? Anyhow,
truly.
tell us a
All right,
little bit about your experience in the semifinals.
the semis probably the best Magic game I've ever played. Um,
Awesome.
what was the pod? I was on the play because I had the Swiss seed. Um, it was I think Helenium in second seat on Dawnwaker, but Akira instead of Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
Rogsai and Tivit going last. Um,
Tropical rum is what I think Helenium calls that deck.
so
Gracias.
I was very afraid of Rogsai going into this pod.
Mm-hmm.
Because I expected Rogsai to just jam it turn 2.
Yeah.
Um, so I kept like a shit ton of I think my hand was like a shit ton of interaction. And then um I like sandbag that I had a mind frame trap. When I did not, and then I tutored for it with mystical tutor to put it on top. Once again, I was playing super defensive. I was just trying to like get to the part of the game where I can cast Tymna and start drawing cards.
You had that 4D
Um,
chess thing going.
yeah, it's this like psyop that I picked up from people I play with, where you can just
Yeah.
like randomly ask people what the storm count is, like during
Yep.
their turn.
That's a trick.
Um,
That's a good trick.
and like it freaks them the fuck out usually. Um,
Uh,
I
you ever
think
played with LJ Mesa? Do you know LJ Mesa?
no, I don't know who that is.
Edric
He's not
player,
out there.
but he does this thing every time you put a dangerous spell on the stack. He goes, "Oh, what's the mana value of that spell? Oh, what's it? What's the type?
What's the type?
What's the card type? Oh, I can't do anything about that." But it scares you every time. Every time you
That,
pass priority on it.
that is when Spell Snare was a lot more popular than it is
Yeah.
now.
Yup. Yeah.
Bro, fucking spell snare. Who's the so I play with some I think Sora plays spell snare like an ever deck.
I'm a spell snare apologist. I think it's a really good card.
Spell snare is 1 blue, right?
One
Correct.
blue. Counter a 2 mana thing. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about spell snare. Anyway, semis.
Yeah.
It was like the most crazy game ever because like the game had kind of stalled out and then like Hellenium wheeled.
Love that. Love a
um
good wheel.
like I think what it was he wheels as a bait and then he intuitions on top of it. And then both the wheel and the intuition end up resolving.
Mm,
Um, and it was a windfall for like x equal 20 or something.
okay.
What?
So we draw like me and Z-Rob are like sort of teamed up against Selenium because he's like wheeling for x equal 20 with
Hmm.
like 10 treasures or some shit on board.
And it's just intuition and put his pieces into the bin. Yeah.
Yeah, like he has Savine's Breach and LED all in the bin. So I literally drew like 5 pieces of interaction off this wheel.
Nice.
And like by the end of the turn, I think um the storm count was 24 just from interaction. Um and like a piece I had sandbagged was Fluster because I drew Final Fortune and Fluster off the wheel, and I ended up not having to use my Fluster. I was like sandbagging it to the end because I was like, oh, this is like my best interaction spell. I'm gonna hold this back as long as
Hmm.
I can. So there was a Ranger captain in play. um, there was a Ranger captain and a dress down.
Oh, okay.
And
Yep.
because like somehow like I think I dressed down in response to the Ranger captain to like prevent him from Ranger captaining or something. So in response to the dress down trigger, Z-Rob Deadly Rolex, the Ranger captain, to try to like go to the win on his next turn.
Hmm.
Um, and like I think this was like the moment that like the pivotal moment of the game because it was like I had the choice to either like let it resolve or like try to go for it myself.
Yeah.
Um, and I was just like, I just didn't want him to untap with like 20 cards, so I decided to like YOLO the Final Fortune
Hmm.
and got there.
Nice.
Um, it was a really fun game. I think the most instructive part of it is that wheels are RNG cannons, and that like if I could get away with not playing wheels, I would. But I think wheels are like some Magic player who's like really good said like take your medicine on certain cards. Wheels are like the card I have to take my medicine on because I fucking hate wheels.
I play one. I think I play exactly Wheel of Fortune anymore. Just I always feel like I'm getting blown out every time I cast a wheel. Like I'm not getting cards to advance my board state, but my opponents are, and then I have to pass the turn. Okay.
Yeah, like
Uh,
if I'm not casting it turn 1 on the play, it's like I'm trolling.
yeah.
It's like where I've like figured out I am on wheels. I mean, I have to play 1 so I can kill them after breach, but I don't know. I am increasingly not a fan of wheels in Blue Farm. I don't know. What do you think, Ashani?
I was once a wheel hater. I don't know where I stand either. I am. I'm in a midlife crisis right now, Con. I like playing my bad cards, and I'm being told to play good cards, and I'm trying to merge the two together, but they're not merging well. So all my morals are being checked.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm just trying to relearn everything and try to be a better player. And I haven't played a blue deck in a while. I mean, put Corval back together, and boy, I must I tell you, games had been difficult without blue cards, and I'm sad to say these things.
This is
But
like a recurring
Yeah.
theme too.
yes,
Like
yes,
I
but
think even Phil Gallagher had something to say about needing to play blue when we had him on Thraben U.
yeah, it's rough. It's rough out here. I don't know what happened. I don't know if, as a community, we all got better, but it's rough. It's rough out here. Just seeing all these risks. Think I've played in the last 4 or 5 games I've played. I've seen at least six studies resolve in a against a John deck, and that's
Oh
just not a
no,
good place.
dude.
That's not a good place to be.
That's just not a good place to be.
Yeah.
They've like Red Blast and Pyro, and that's it, man.
Yeah, I've played all of those.
Yeah,
I'm
well, okay.
even.
So the truth is, you used to not play any of the
I used to not
blasts.
play exactly. I used to
So have
not
you
play it.
added them in to deal with Rhystic Study?
Yes, I've added them in. I'm
That's
even
so funny.
currently, I'm even currently looking at Force of Vigor right now.
Don't. What? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
it's
Who
rough
are
out
Force of
you?
Vigor
here.
is
What have you
bad.
done with
Force of Vigor
Well, I
is
Ashani?
don't know.
bad,
I don't know
dude.
what happened. I need to go back to my greedy stage. So
That's so
uh,
funny.
I'm gonna go off the blue for a little bit and relearn the green and see what
Just
happens.
play Rogsai.
That's why I
It's
played
easy.
6 months of
I play
Frog.
wrong side. So here's my hot take on wrong side
Oh
that
no.
people might not like
Okay.
me
Hey,
for.
Ashani, just
I
remember Bryant's a mod in the chat now.
Oh, is he? Shoot. Well, here we go. Um, I don't think the deck knows as well.
You don't think the
Um,
deck gnaws as well?
nope. I have never resolved it. I know him in that deck and felt impressed. And that is my take.
Wow.
I the deck is strong. I don't feel like if I'm playing, I don't feel like I'm ever behind. It can take windows, very small windows, and turn the game over.
Hmm.
For in your favor, it does these things well.
Hmm.
But
Well,
uh, yeah, that,
Well, what do you think gnaws as well if Rogsai doesn't gnaw as well? Like, what do you
yeah,
think?
Ashani.
but you see, the problem is mine knows the top shelf for mine knows deck is Corvold, and then after that, Blue Farm Tim the Chrome.
Hmm.
You think Blue Farm has a better gnaws than Rogsai?
I say
How
I'm.
long has it been since you
Uh,
played Blue Farm?
let's say, for me, my personal opinion, when I resolve these cards in these decks, one is better than the other. That is all
Okay.
I'm saying. I'm not saying overall it is better because I've seen wrong side dolls, some really great dolls, and at the same time some clunky dolls from Blue Farm. I'm just saying when I resolve the spell, like I have never resolved Peer into the Abyss without someone casting a deflecting one.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hence why I do not play Peer into the Abyss for mental health reasons.
A deck that nozes really well. It's Malcolm Vile
Grixis,
Smasher because you
Grixis
have your
Pirates?
yeah, because you
Yes.
have your 3 mana win the game that you can often assemble off of a Noz.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Totally
And
agree
you
with
have
you,
all these
Scott.
treasures, dude, because your commander makes treasures,
got a
dude.
billion treasures. Yeah,
And
yeah,
you
yeah.
you get to play Lightning Rig Crew,
You play
which is
Lightning
an
Rig Crew
altar.
if you want to, which I really do love. Like today, I was playing the deck, and I had the opportunity to put a Curiosity on my Lightning Rig Crew, but instead I put it on Malcolm because I
Boo!
wanted to get cards in a specific order, and I needed blue mana to do what I wanted to do. But yeah,
Weak, Scott, weak.
what a good thing that is. Anyhow, in your finals game, you I mean, obviously, I can't
Lost.
even. Yeah, you lost, but I can't even say the person's name. Uh, but
Manila Midget?
yeah, that's the one. Uh, and they were playing Dargo Thrasios. How did you feel
Yeah.
about
Yep.
that deck?
I don't think it's the best Dargo deck. I think Naya Dargo's the best Dargo deck. I mean, he piloted it really well. Um, Sitting across from it, it felt like a mid-range Thrasios pile that had Dargo combos in it, um, which was interesting. Um, Maybe that was just like the way that game went because he like got a Seaborn Muse, but
Yeah,
um,
I think I've seen Dargo Thrasios go deep into one other tournament. It was I want to say whatever the last online tournament Monarch put on was, like
yeah,
Winterfest or something, Summer Bloom last year, or something like that. I've seen it go deep. No, it was a Playmax event. It was Playmax 3. There was Dargo Thrasios that went fairly deep. But I think it's
I thought it was a
an
cool deck. I
interesting
thought it was
deck.
cool.
Yeah.
Hmm.
As a big Dargo fan, like I think it's a very neat deck, and I think neoforming
I love Dargo.
into like Tidespout Tyrant is very cool. But I mean, do you feel that you like I guess about the finals, do you think that there's anything you could have done better? Do you think you played your best game? Are there any takeaways from the finals that you'll use for your next tournament experience?
I thought about this a fair bit. I think I was maybe a little too scared of Winota going into that game. My prediction for how the game was going to play out was that there'd be a turn two Winota and no one would have magic like interaction for it and we
Hmm.
would lose. Um, so I saw like a swords on the mall and I'd like basically snap kept, even though
Mm,
it was like mediocre hand.
gotcha.
Um, and that decision haunted me throughout the rest of the game. Um, and I wonder if it might have been better to take a little greedier look at those malls to try to find like maybe a bounce spell or something.
Mm,
Uh, of course, the way the game played out was Winota came down turn two with two triggers, and I was the only one with interaction.
hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
It's tough. Um,
That is hard. It is hard,
I,
but I think you
I
play
think
so
it's
many
hard.
good. I think you play so many so many good cards in Tim Crom that like you can afford to go a couple mulligans deeper than you normally would. But that is terrifying. Winota turn two with two triggers. Like you'll never know how the game would have turned out if you mulled deeper. You can only focus on what maybe you should do differently next time. But it sounds like during the whole tournament you got forced into being the deck with interaction a fair bit of
yeah,
times. Yeah.
which is like kind of what the deck wants to do though, which
Yeah.
is cool.
Well,
I love playing the deck that way. It almost makes me want to like do Timna Thrasios, but I'm not ready for that.
hey, listen, if you want to do Timna Thrasios,
Play
uh,
Hulk.
more power
Let's
to you. Hulk
go.
is really good. Hermit Druid is really good. Both of them don't have red, which is a huge pain in the butt. Uh,
Correct.
Red is very good. Dockside, as it turns out, very good card. And
Wow.
even slamming a collector oof early into Dockside, like all these decks are playing like Deadly Rollick and Swords to Plowshares and Snap and all the Snap back and all the removal spells
Snap
for your
back, dude.
collector oof. So it's not It's not like it used to be. That's all. That's all I'm saying. We got these nut jobs running Fire Covenant. Like, it's not as easy as it used to be to play Collector Roof. But yeah, Thrasios Tymna very interesting and I think very fun. I have been called the Thrasios Tymna guy before. So yeah, I'm in that Thrasios Tymna advocacy camp. But I think Tymna Crom draws a lot draws a lot of cards. Like, you cannot deny
Yeah.
that it draws a ton of cards and it can play a lot of very good cards. Um so
I'm a
thanks
simple
for
man. I like to draw cards. Yeah.
hey, draw cards, make mana. That's the dream. Thanks for talking to us a little bit about the tournament. I have two lightning round questions for you, and then we're gonna call it for the evening.
All right.
Here's the
What's up?
first one. Are you prepared for the first one?
Yeah, I'm ready.
What is something other than Magic the Gathering you're currently passionate about?
Um, Actually, I do like long range shooting, so I
Okay.
like have a like sniper rifle, and I
Yeah.
go out into the like mountains and shoot guns. Um, and it has a lot of weird parallels to Magic, because it's a very mental sport.
Hmm.
Um, like, and you have to like intensely focus, and there's like all these mental checklists you have to run through, all these differing like a ton of variables, too many variables to keep track of. Um, and I have a ton of fun doing it. It's great to like get outside and like do shit.
What distances are
I'm
you
not
going out to?
like 1,200 yards usually.
That's much farther than anything I've ever done. I had a Savage Model 10 built up for long range stuff like bull barrel and free floated, but uh like bedded
Cool.
stock and everything. But
Bedded
yeah,
stock. Damn.
yeah, I used to shoot a little bit. But at 1200 is longer than I ever got out to. We don't have that kind of range here in New York. We have like, I think the
Yeah.
longest one I've ever seen is 600, and that is at like the military base up north. So
Yeah.
um
It's like a privilege we get living out west. It's like we
yeah.
have like really long fucking ranges.
Yeah, as it turns out, the place with the big expanses of land. Yeah. Um. Okay. And the second question I have for you is the most important question I will have asked you at any time during the show. Forcon, what is the sexiest soup?
Sexiest?
The sexiest soup.
Um, Tomato?
Tomato. Good answer. Not a
Tomato
common
soup
one,
is
but a good answer.
I think tomato soup can be made in a lot of interesting ways.
I think so too. I like a little like roasted tomato before the fact, and then pulse that up with a bunch of good stuff. Big fan. Tomato basil, very good too. All right, well, that's the time that we have for this week. Forcon, thank you for joining us
Yeah,
and
my
talking with
pleasure.
us about cEDH a little bit. It was very good to get some of the conceptual stuff down too. It's a thing that we love to touch on, but don't get a chance to a lot. So thanks for that. And chat. We'll see you here, same bat time, same bat channel next week. Don't forget Silicon Dynasty, January 13th to the 14th to the 15th in San Jose, California. Tickets are going fast. We are below halfway of tickets remaining. So please, 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 if you want to play, sign up, grab a ticket, and go win some cash. Uh,
Is
and
it really
that,
up to $4,000? God damn.
yeah, it's 4K. So I think the winner gets 1,000 in
okay.
cash
Yeah,
on site. Like they just hand you cash money. It's
solid cash,
$10,000.
bro.
it's
Let's
pretty
go.
fun to watch. It might be worth the trip to San Jose. That's all I'm saying. And that's all. That's it. Same bat time, same bat channel next week with another guest who won't be anywhere near as exciting as any of our previous guests. That's just how it goes. They're all the most exciting. And we will see you next time. Have a good night, and talk to you later.
Bye.